We're so glad that you could join us today. You know, one of the things that we say often here at Project Light is that awareness changes outcomes. But awareness is not the final outcome. What really makes a difference is action. You know, today we're highlighting the work of an organization called The Value of One. And we have Weston Parks, the founder, here with us. And, you know, The Value of One is based on a very simple but powerful truth that every life has value.
So first, let me say thank you to Project Light for having us here. We are, one of our big things at The Value of One is connecting with other organizations that are like-minded and working together. So that's really important to us. So thank you for having us. But so The Value of One, we were founded in 2020. I'm still in law enforcement part-time, but I was in full-time law enforcement at the time. And my pastor had asked me to do a seminar, and one of the topics was human trafficking. And you know, honestly, when I started that, he asked me because I was in law enforcement. But when he asked me that, I thought, well, I'm going to have to study on that a little bit, because I went through the basic human trafficking training that we had when we went through our basic law enforcement training, but that was about it. So I started studying that topic, and it was like the rabbit hole that you just never come out of. Once I went down it, I just couldn't get away from it. And I just realized how much of it's going on and how deep of an issue it is. And sometimes what you see online or what you see from, you know, advertisements from government, different things, is very surface level of what the problem actually entails. So my wife and I, we had been praying for some time about where the Lord was going to use us in different capacities, and we just began to pray on this specific topic of human trafficking. And a few months later, the Lord really opened that door for us, and The Value of One become reality. And it's been a long, good road so far, and we are excited to what the Lord's allowed us to do.
Okay. And so what is the primary work that you're doing? Like some of the things that you're involved in through the Value of One?
Sure. So our core model is a three-step model, or three-step method that we work with, which is prevention, rescue, and rehabilitation, which sounds very simple, and it is simple in theory, but we do a lot of prevention work where we're going out into school systems. We're meeting with pastors and youth pastors at churches, youth groups, and we just do exactly what it says, prevention. We get out here and we make awareness. We teach them how to be safe online. We teach them how to recognize the signs of human trafficking. Mm-hmm. You know, again, I go back to the stereotypical stuff, but, you know, every time you see something with human trafficking online and things, it's always somebody bound by their hands or in a dark room or things like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Those are real scenarios that happen, but it happens in a lot of other ways too. And of course, you're aware of that, but it happens in a lot of other ways. So we try to teach those things. And of course, the rescue, this is where my law enforcement background comes into play. And a lot of the people that work with our organization are still actively in law enforcement or have a law enforcement background. And we use those skills that we've been taught all these years to help locate, investigate, find where these victims of trafficking are, identify them, and then working alongside of our law enforcement partners in different communities and rescue them out. And we don't do that just here in the United States, but we work all over the world doing that. We've been in about 7 different countries in Africa, a couple in Central America, and of course all throughout the United States. And then the last side is the rehabilitation, and you know, that's probably the most. Well, I guess it would be right neck and neck with rescue, because if we rescue them and do nothing, the book of Mark talks about what should it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul. And so it's really important to us that we not only just rescue these people and get them out of this situation, but we get them to a place where we can show them the true light, which is Jesus Christ and the gospel. So that's very important to us in the rehabilitation side, and we work with different groups all over the world just doing just that.
Okay, awesome. So as you look ahead down the road, I know we talked about some really exciting things around helping to support our law enforcement with some different task force, or can you share a little bit about that vision?
Sure. So law enforcement has it has a lot of challenges to it. In today's society, call volumes have gone up, staffing is shorter, a lot of staffing shortages. Recruitment is not as easy. Retention's even harder sometimes. Right. So there's a lot of challenges that come around law enforcement, but it doesn't mean we need to be less proactive. Right. In that sense. And we have some wonderful, wonderful law enforcement agencies in this state of North Carolina, and some of the best law enforcement officers I've worked all around the country and in other countries, and North Carolina has some of the very best law enforcement officers here. And we just want to help empower them to be more proactive and to have the right training and the right tools where they can not only investigate the ones that are reported to them or the tips that come in, but they can be proactively out there engaging in work to find these victims that are being trafficked. And not only find the victims, but put the traffickers in jail where they belong. I'll say this briefly, but we have done such a good job with victim identification and having a victim approach to human trafficking. We've just done an excellent job in that. But what we have slacked a little bit is going after the traffickers. In some ways, you could say that we've created a little bit of what we call the revolving door effect, where we rescue all these victims, we get them out, but we never arrest that trafficker. And so what does he do? The trafficker does is just go get more victims, and it just creates that revolving door. And so that's something that's important to us, that we feel like we've looking at statistics and different things across the state and across the country that we've kind of fell short in. And don't get me wrong, I understand it's a hard task. Convicting and arresting and convicting a trafficker, it takes a lot of resources, and it takes a lot of manpower, and it takes a lot of cooperation between your survivors and your law enforcement partners. But it's something that can be done, and that's kind of what that program's pushing toward. Go ahead.
I was going to say, what do you think is like one of the biggest obstacles? Like, what are the things that are preventing law enforcement to really be able to bring those traffickers and those that are exploiting out of? Sure.
Some of the obstacles is cooperation between your survivors and your law enforcement. These are really hard events to have to relive and rehash out and talk about, and of course to get proper prosecutions and things like that. There's a lot of information that needs to be talked about, going through those things that's happened to that survivor over and over again. That becomes challenging sometimes. But the other part of the challenging side of it is it's just the way that trafficking it happens. It's in dark places, it's hidden, it's not just out in the open. And of course, it's force, fraud, or coercion is just the elements that you have to meet to prove these things in most scenarios, and that except within children. And those become harder to prove because force and fraud are not always physical evidence.